So looking at these are obviously conversions we don't do very much. Furlongs are something we just mentioned and didn't really discuss in class. But let's look at it. To get from miles to rods, so put 6 miles over 1. In our conversion factor, what's going to go on bottom? Miles, right? Because we're trying to get rid of miles. It has to go on bottom so it can cancel out. On top is going to do rods. Do we have a relationship somewhere between miles and rods? What's that? Yeah, how much is it? 320. We didn't go over it in class, but on the conversion sheet it says 1 mile is 320 rods. So the miles will cross cancel. 6 times 320 is 1920, correct? So 6 miles is 1920 rods. Yep, I'll get that to you after a little bit.
Why can't we just do 6 times 5,280 divided by 2.5?
Okay, very good question. If we didn't know the 320 rods, you do know that there is 5,280 feet in 1 mile. That would convert it from miles into feet. And then you know that 1 rod is 16.5 feet. So that would cancel out the feet. So what this is telling you is it's a formula basically saying 6 times 5280 divided by 16.5. But it does get you to the same spot, 1920. Yeah, there are extra steps involved, but if you don't know this conversion, which I wouldn't expect you to know off the top of your head, that's one that, depending on the day, some days I remember it and some days I have to look it up. So if you don't know it, yeah, right here is another way to go about it. You do know how to get from miles to feet and from feet to rods, so you don't have to do it all in one step. Just like up here, this next one, from yards to furlongs. The only thing I said about furlongs is that a furlong was 1/8 of a mile. So there's 8 furlongs in a mile. We didn't even put it in our notes. Now, if you want to, you can look up that 1 furlong is 220 yards. If you have that information, well, then it's easy to go from 1,100 yards, 1 furlong, 220 yards. The yards cancel out, and this is telling you it's going to be 1,100 divided by 220, or 5 furlongs. But if you didn't know that, you could go from the 1,100 yards into miles, which would give you 0.625 miles, and then you could have done that into furlongs and get the 5 furlongs as well. So there's more than one way to get to these answers. Now, when we're looking at, especially when we get into like metric to standard conversions, there's more than one way to get there, but because those conversions are rounded, they're not exact, they're going to be slightly different depending on which conversion you use. All right, any questions on those? Okay. Well, today we're going to keep going with our measurements and working with measurements. And we're going to do some converting, but mostly we're going to do combining measurements. And we're going to start out again with our standard measurement, standard length. And in our standard lengths, we have to deal with what we call a dual unit system. By dual unit, what I mean is oftentimes our lengths are listed as 8 feet 4 inches. If I asked you your height, if you were 6 foot 1 inch, you wouldn't say 73 inches, you'd say I'm 6 foot 1. So you have 2 units that are used, feet and inches, or you might have yards and feet or whatever that are combined to make a length. Because of that, we have to deal with, when we do any operations with our units, we have to deal with both units. So for example, if I take my 8 feet 4 inches and I'm going to add 6 feet 7 inches to it, Now, just like with whole numbers, when we added or subtracted, we can only combine things with the same name. With whole numbers, that meant the place values. We had to line up the columns of the place values. With measurements, it's the units that we have to line up. So when we do this, we have to have 8 feet, 4 inches. We have to line up 6 feet with the 8 feet and the 7 inches with the 4 inches, and now we can add down the columns. Just like with whole numbers, we're going to start on the right, and we're going to work our way backwards back to the left. 4 inches plus 7 inches is 11 inches. Do we carry? No, why not? It's not 12. It's 12 inches before we get a foot, so we're not there yet. 8 feet and 6 feet make 14 feet. So we get 14 feet, 11 inches. So we're going to have 5 feet, 3 inches plus 2 feet, 6 inches. Again, we start on the right, work our way back to the left. 3 inches and 6 inches is 9 inches. 5 feet and 2 feet is 7 feet. Doesn't stay that simple. We can run into this. So again, we go to add, we start on the right, work our way back to the left. 9 inches and 11 inches makes 20 inches. What's wrong with that? It's now bigger than a foot. It's more than 12 inches. So that's 1 foot, which is 12 inches, and how much is left? 8 inches. So we're going to keep the 8 inches and carry the 1 foot. Is there anybody that's not sure where the 1 foot 8 inches come from? We just took the 20 inches and we split up, took 1 foot out of it. That's 12 inches. There's 8 left over. So now we have 1 foot, and 6 foot makes 7, plus 8 is 15 feet. So 15 feet, 8 inches. Now we might also have 7 yards and 2 feet plus 4 yards and 1 foot. 2 feet and 1 foot make 3 feet, which of course is 1 yard. So there's 0 feet, so we're just going to leave that blank. 1 and 7 makes 8, plus 4 is 12 yards. So the answer is just 12 yards. Same. 3 feet equals 1 yard, yep. Same thing can happen with the feet and inches. We have 6 feet, 4 inches plus 2 feet, 8 inches. 4 inches plus 8 inches is 12 inches, which is exactly 1 foot. So there's no inches left over. We're just going to carry the 1 foot. 1 and 6 is 7, plus 2 is 9 feet. We got 9 feet. We can subtract. 8 feet, 9 inches minus 2 feet, 7 inches. Again, just like addition, we have to line up the units because we can only combine things with subtraction that have the same name. Just like whole numbers, we're going to start on the right and work our way back to the left. 9 inches minus 7 inches is 2 inches. 8 feet minus 2 feet is 6 feet. Now again, it doesn't stay that simple. We have 6 feet, 4 inches minus 4 feet, 9 inches. Again, we start on the right, work our way back to the left. 4 inches minus 9 inches, however, is an issue. We can't take 9 away from 4. So we're going to borrow from the 7 feet. This is now 6 feet. Do we just put a 1 here?
Yep.
No. Because 1 foot is how many inches? 12 inches. So 4 plus 12, we now have 16 inches. So now it's 16 minus 9 is 7 inches. 6 minus 4 is 2 feet. So for something like this, 8 yards, 1 foot, minus 3 yards and 2 feet. Again, I can't take 1 foot minus 2 feet, so I have to borrow. This will be 7 yards, and this is going to become 4 feet, because 1 yard was 3 feet, so 1 plus 3 is 4. Now we can do 4 minus 2 is 2 feet. 7 minus 3 is 4 yards. So 4 yards, 2 feet. In your notes, I'll have you try this one quick. Six feet 8 inches minus 4 feet 11 inches. So 8 minus 11 can't be done. What do we have to do? Borrow from the 6. This is 5 feet, and this is going to be plus 12 is going to give us 20 inches. Now what? 20 minus 11 is 9 inches. 5 minus 4, 1 foot. So 1 foot, 9 inches. Any questions? Multiplication is a little more complicated. We're going to start out looking at multiplying a measurement times a counting number, or what we call a scalar number. So we're going to have 7 feet, 8 inches times 5. What that's saying is we need pieces that are 7 feet, 8 inches long, and we need 5 of them, so we're trying to find the total length. So just like any other multiplication with whole numbers, we start on the right, work our way back to the left. So 5 times 8 is 40 inches. Now obviously that's more than 12 inches. It's more than a foot. In fact, it's more than 1 foot. How many feet can we get out of that? Yeah, if we divide by 12, we get 3 point something. So that's 3 feet. 3 feet, 3 times 12 is 36. So there's how many inches left over? 4. So we got 3 feet, 4 inches. So we're going to keep the 4 inches and carry the 3 feet. Now, we carried the 3 feet, but we still have to multiply before we add that. 5 times 7 is 35 feet, plus 3 is 38 feet. So that's 38 feet, 4 inches. An alternative, some of you might prefer to convert everything into inches, multiply it out and convert it back. So that'd be 7 times 12 is 84, plus 8 is 92. 92 times 5 is 460. Then you have to take that back down into feet and inches. If you're going to do that, that's a big conversion to take back down into feet and inches. So let's do some work on the calculator for that. On the calculator, if I put in the 460 divided by 12, I'm going to get 38.33333. The way to work with that is I'm going to take off the 38. I'm going to write down the 38 feet. Subtract 38, using it with the 0.333. Then I'm going to multiply by 12 again to put that back into inches. That's 4 inches. It's a lot of steps on the calculator. I prefer to do it this way because I'm okay doing the calculations by hand. If you're stuck with the calculator and that's the way you want to do it, let me know and I'll do some more examples that way. But for right now, I'm going to stick to doing it by hand unless you tell me you need it the other way. So anyway, let's look at another one. Let's do 3 feet 11 inches times 6. I'm going to have you guys try that one in your notes quick. So 6 times 11 inches is 66 inches. How many feet can we get out of that?
12.
If we divide by 12, we get 5 feet. 5 times 12 is 60, so there's 6 inches left over. So we're going to keep the 6 inches. We're going to carry the 5 feet. So now 6 times 3 is 18 plus 5 is 23 feet. It doesn't stay quite that simple. It can get a little uglier. We can have 4 feet 7 1/4 inches times 9. So 9 times 7 1/4 is what? 62 1/4? No, 65 1/4 inches. Yep. How many feet can I get out of 65 inches? Somebody say 5 feet.
5 feet.
5 feet would be 60 inches, so there's 5 1/4 inches left over. So I'm going to keep the 5 1/4 inches. Carry the 5 feet. So 9 times 4 is 36, plus 5 is 41 feet. So 41 feet, 5 1/4 inches. Make sense? Try that one in your notes. So 11 3/4 times 10 is 117.5 inches, or 117.5 inches. We divide that by 12, we get 9 feet. Anybody? 9.5 inches, correct? So we're going to keep the 9.5 inches. Carry the 9 feet. 10 times 3 is 30, plus 9 is 39 feet. So that was multiplying a measurement by like what we called a counting number, what we called a scalar. If we were to multiply two measurements, let's say we had 4 feet 3 inches times 3 feet 6 inches. Just like we saw with our fractions and mixed numbers, not only would the 6 inches have to multiply the 3 inches, the 6 inches would have to multiply the 4 feet. Everything has to multiply everything else. Now that would give us square inches and square feet, which are bad enough to try to mix together. But it would also give us inch feet. Now an inch foot is an actual unit. It hasn't been used for a couple hundred years. But it's just a strip that's an inch wide and a foot long. But it's not, in order to fit it in with everything else, we'd have to convert it to make everything usable. So rather than go through that, what we normally do, similar to fractions, where we convert everything into improper fractions instead of using mixed numbers to multiply, we would either convert everything into feet or everything into inches. If we were converting into inches, 4 feet 3 inches is how many inches? 4 times 12 is 48, plus 3 is 51. Very similar to converting it into improper fractions, just you have a denominator of 12. How about 3 feet 6 inches? Well, 3 times 12 is 36, plus 6 is 42. So 51 times 42, is it 252? No, say no. 51 times 42 is what, 2142 square inches. At this point in the semester, people start blindly accepting what I say, so I like to throw out wrong answers just to see if you catch it. So anyway, that's if we converted everything into inches. If we converted everything into feet, that same concept we mentioned, using the mixed numbers and fractions, that same concept applies. 4 feet 3 inches. Well, an inch is 1/12 of a foot, so that's 4 3/12 of a foot, or 4 1/4, or 4.25 feet if you want to put it that way. 3 foot 6 inches is 3 6/12 of a foot, or 3.5 feet. If I multiply those, I'll do 4.25 times 3.5. I get 18.875, 14.875. So 14 7/8 square feet. Now, what are we used to having as our conversion between feet and inches? 12, right? If we multiply 14.875 or 14 7/8 times 12, are we going to get 2100? Not even close, are we? That's because this isn't feet and inches, it is square feet and square inches. Those are very different from feet and inches. The conversion is not 12 anymore. Tomorrow, we're going to go over that conversion between square feet and square inches, how it's different and why it's different. For right now, just know that from square inches to square feet, it's not multiplying or dividing by 12 anymore. So anyway, you can see multiplying two measurements becomes a little bit more involved than multiplying a measurement by a scalar. For division, we're only going to look at dividing by a scalar for now. Let's say we have 23 feet, 4 inches, and we're going to divide that into 8 equal pieces. Division is the one operation that starts on the left and works to the right. We're going to see how many times can we take 8 out of 23 feet. Twice. So it's going to be 2 feet. 2 feet times 8 is 16 feet, which is going to leave us with 7 feet. Now this is where we would bring down the next digit, in this case the 4 inches. But there's an extra step we have to add in here. Before we bring down the 4 inches, we have to convert the 7 feet into inches. So 7 times 12 would be 84 inches. Now we bring down the 4 inches with the 84, makes 88 inches. So I'm going to pause there. Any questions as to where the 88 came from? Converting our 7 feet that were left over into inches and then combining the 4 inches with it. So now 88 divided by 8 is 11 inches. So if I have something that's 23 feet 4 inches and I'm going to cut it in 8 equal pieces, each piece is 2 feet 11 inches. So 19 feet 8 inches divided by 4. Well, 4 goes into 19 4 times. 4 feet times 4 is 16, which leaves us with 3 feet. Before we bring down the 8, we have to convert 3 into 36. We bring down the 8. 8 plus 36 is 44 inches. And now it's that 44 divided by 4 is 11 inches. So 4 feet, 11 inches. Once again, it doesn't always work out quite so nicely. I can have 27 feet, 7 inches divided by 6. 6 goes into 27 how many times? 4, that's 4 feet. 6 times 4 feet is 24 feet. So we have 3 feet left over. 3 feet is going to become 36 inches. 7 and 36 makes 43 inches. 43 divided by 6 is 7 1/3 inches. We can't have remainders here, so whatever is left over we have to put in as a fraction. 43 divided by 6, if I write it like that, reduces to 7 1/3 as a mixed number. So 7 1/3 inches. Now I realize in the shop 7 1/3 inches is not a useful unit. You'd probably convert that into a decimal, 7.33, and then to the nearest eighth or 16th like we've seen before. But for right now, we're doing exact calculations, so we're going to leave it like that. In your notes, let's have you try. "25 feet, 8 inches divided into 7 equal pieces." See what you come up with. Okay, so 7 goes into 25. 3 feet. 3 feet times 7 is 21 feet. So 25 minus 21, there's 4 feet left over. Then what? 4 feet is 48 inches. And then, minus the 8 is 56. Then what? 56 divided by 7 is 8 inches. 3 feet, 8 inches. How many had that? Good deal. In the metric system, things get simpler. In the metric system, we do not have a dual unit system. You would never have someone say, I am 1 meter, 78 centimeters tall. They would either say, I am 1.78 meters, or I am 178 centimeters. They don't combine units in the metric system. That's the whole purpose of having everything being tens. Is so that you can move decimal points and you only need 1 unit. You don't have to combine units together. In the standard system, the only reason why we do the dual units is, 6 feet, 1 inch would be 6.083333333 feet. A really ugly decimal. It doesn't work out nice as a decimal because the conversion is 12. In the metric system, since the conversion between units is always a factor, a power of 10, the conversion is always perfect, so the decimals are nice and neat like that. So in the metric system, when we do an operation, all we have to do is make sure that the units are the same. So if we have 2.7 meters plus 190 centimeters, all I need to know is what units I want my answer in. If I want my answer in meters, well then, I'm going to leave the 2.7 meters. Centimeters, the 190 centimeters is going to get converted into meters. How many is that going to be? 1.9. Good. On our chart, we've got meters, decimeters, and centimeters. It's 2 spots to the left to get from centimeters to meters. So 2 spots to the left makes 1.9. So now 2.7 plus 1.9 is 4.6. So it is 4.6 meters. Or we might have 58 centimeters plus 240 millimeters, and let's say I'm told I want my answer in millimeters. So now I'm going to leave the 240. I have to change centimeters into millimeters. 58 centimeters will be 580 millimeters. Now 580 plus 240 is 820. 820 millimeters. So fairly simple. $7.2 meters minus 830 millimeters. If I'm told I want my answer in millimeters, the 830 won't change. 7.2 meters is going to become how many millimeters? It'll be 7,200. So 7,200 minus 830 is 6,370 millimeters. Subtraction is just as simple. Multiplication is the same way. We just have to make sure we have our units the same. So if I have 8.1 meters times 210 centimeters, I need to know, do I want my answer in centimeters squared or meters squared? If I tell you it's meters squared, well then this is 8.1 meters times 2.1 meters. Give us 17.01 meters squared. Here it doesn't indicate what units I want my answer in. So does that mean I can't do it? Yeah, there's only one unit here. I'm taking a measurement times a counting number, or a scalar again. So it's just 340 times 7 is 2380 centimeters. Is it centimeters squared? No, just centimeters. Up here, it was meters squared because I had a unit times another unit, meters times meters. Here, however, centimeters times just a counting number, it stays centimeters. We have to be careful with the opposite of that as well when we divide. If I have something that's 48 centimeters long and I'm going to cut it into 6 equal pieces, what do I get for an answer? Yeah, 48 divided by 6 is 8 centimeters. Now, a somewhat related question, but very, very different, would be this. Let's say I have something that is 64 centimeters long, and I'm going to cut it into pieces that are 16 centimeters. What do I get? 64 divided by 16 is 4. What's the units on there? There isn't one. It's just 4. Up here, I'm cutting 48 centimeters into 6 equal pieces. I'm getting the length of each piece is 8 centimeters. Here, I have 64 centimeters, and I'm cutting pieces that are 16 centimeters. What I'm getting is just 4 pieces, not a length. I'm getting the number of pieces that I would get out of that. So you have to be careful. When you divide, just like multiplication, you not only combine the amounts or the counts, you also combine the names. This is centimeters divided by, technically that's just the ones place. Anything divided by 1 is itself. So we get centimeters. Here, it's centimeters divided by centimeters, which cancels out, leaving us with just ones or nothing. So, what would we get for that? Can we do it? Do I have to tell you what units I want the answer in? No, I don't. Why not? I'm dividing a measurement by another measurement, which means the units should go away. I can either convert centimeters into millimeters, which will give me 51 millimeters divided by 17 millimeters. The millimeters divide out. 51 divided by 17 is 3. I would get 3 pieces. Or I can leave the 5.1 centimeters and convert millimeters into centimeters. 17 millimeters would be 1.7 centimeters. 5.1 divided by 1.7 is 3. So either way, I'm going to get that gets cut into 3 pieces. Any questions? Okay. In that packet that you got yesterday, and for those of you that were gone, I'll get that to you right now. Page 237, 13 through 24. Yesterday you did 1 through 12, so that's just continuing on. And on page 265 of that packet, 15 through 22. Yesterday you did 6 through 14. So I'll get that packet to you right now. How many people need it? Well, let's see here. Take this hand back. Mike? Marissa? Terry? Travis? Shelby? Tyler? Yeah, those two guys. Terry? Jesse? Richard? Brandon, Matt, I'm a little short on time today, but
Yeah, I'll do it. Tomorrow I have to. I just have to look it over.
sounds good. It's the scientific notation and the powers, it's combining the powers of time.
Oh yeah, I think we do.